What if I told you that your investments could one day pay you more than your monthly salary consistently? That's not just theory for me. I've built a dividend portfolio that now does exactly that. And it wasn't any luck or timing or trying to guess or figure out what I was doing. It was a deliberate strategy that I figured out a few years ago. And it's rooted in understanding how dividend investing truly works. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through those steps. I'm not going to hold back anything. I'm going to share the exact strategy I use to do just that, how I select my stocks, how I reinvest every payout, and how you can start building your own dividend portfolio just like I did. So if that sounds interesting to you, just stick around and we'll get into it. So before I get started, I want to ask you a question. How much did you make in dividends this year, right? So tell me in the chat, how much have you made in dividends for this year? I'm very curious. So tell me in the chat how much you've made in dividends for this year. Good night, everybody. Hope everybody is well. All right, so this was, I'm going to take you back before I get into the strategy. I'll take you back a couple of years, right? So in January of 2022, I made this post on X and it says, ended last year with $125,000 in dividends. The last 3 years of dividend payments total $290,000, most of which were reinvested into stocks. This year will be a good one, right? This was made in 2022, right? And I thought that was a great year. I thought 2021 was a great year. And I thought the last 3 years before that was a great year. But I mean, it's amazing how much we've passed since we started investing. Now, we started investing in 2017. So you have to understand that this point of our story is year 4, right? So Renee and I, my wife, we started investing in 2017 and we started at the end of 2017. So it doesn't even count for us. So in the first 4 years, we made roughly $300,000 in dividends. And I'd probably say in the last 3 years, we've probably made almost $2 million in dividends, right? So it's completely changed in terms of where we started versus where we are now. I'm going to share that strategy with you in a few minutes. So I just want to start again by asking you, how much did you make in dividends this year, right? And at whatever point you're watching the video in the future, you can answer that question. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this on the replay. But let me see what some of you are saying. So Yardi is saying 0 because I'm learning about investing. Cool. So Yardi, you need to watch our Investing for Beginners playlist. That video will help you get started, right? We have a dividend investing video that can help you with that. Humble Boss says 23K, not bad. Levine says ballpark 420-ish. Is that 420,000 or $420? Let me know. Garfield said 3,000. Chestina said 10,500. That's pretty good, right? Let me see what persons are saying over Instagram. Instagram family, you're not saying anything to me. How many have you earned in dividends this year? All right, so looking forward to your feedback over Instagram as well. Cashwayne says close to 150K. That's solid. Kirk says 104,000. I remember when I first made over 100,000, I was over the moon. So I love to see some of these. I'll wait just 10 more seconds for some more. Tell me how much you're making in dividends this year, right? Not overall, just this year, right? And later on in the video, I'll share how much we're estimated to be making this year, because of course the year is not over yet. All right. Orville says about 2 million. Is that what you're saying, Orville? Because I know you know Orville speaks in millions, right? Michael says annually 1.2 million, right? Michael, you are leading us so far, right? Orville says 295,000. Guys, I hope everybody is seeing that what I'm going to share, it's not just me, right? Other persons have been able to do it. So it's not something that's impossible for you to do. If you're watching this, just know that it's possible to make money with dividend investing, right? Before I go any further, I want to invite you to join our investment community. If you're brand new, not sure how to invest, you want to learn how to get started, join the community. We have some great things coming up for you within a couple of months. We're going to be launching a new program to help you learn how to invest, right? So you want to be a part of the community because the updates are going to go there first. And also, if you want to learn how to build a portfolio of income, growth, and value stocks, not because income is a portion, right? That's what we're going to talk about today, but that's a part of it. If you want to learn how to build a solid portfolio, how to assess that portfolio, to understand which stocks you need to maybe let go of, how to pick stocks, how to rebalance your portfolio, when to buy, when to sell, all of that stuff we're going to include in our portfolio makeover challenge. It's a 3-day challenge. It's going to happen a month from now. So sign up because spaces are limited. So sign up now and you'll be able to join us for those 3 days. All right. So there's a few more dividend announcements I want to just get here. Warrell said $68,458.30. That's awesome. Right. So I have here, and I found some today. I found some old dividend checks which I need to cash, right? Because I found these today, right? You can't really see them, but these are dividend checks that I completely forgot to cash, and so they expired. And so I need to sort this out, but $500, $1,300, $425, $5,014, and $1,455. These were back in 23, 22, and 2022, right? Most of these were 2022, right? So I haven't cashed those, but the good thing is you can always bring them back to the registrar and they'll issue you a new check, right? So even if the check was issued and expired, you can get those sorted out, so it's not lost, right? So that's why I'm not worried. I can bring those in, they'll reissue them for me and I'll be all right. Okay. All right, so I'll say one more. So 11 Coca is saying 510,000 so far. And Priority Mindset says they're late to the discussion. What stocks are we discussing? So tonight, Priority Mindset is all about dividends, right? One of our favorite topics here. So I'm going to share my strategy as to how I made more than my monthly salary in dividends for 2025, right? So that's what I'm going to be talking about shortly. So we may touch on multiple stocks, right? But they're going to all be dividend stocks, all right? And Humble Boss said, these are the levels I want to reach. I'm motivated. That's the idea. That is the idea. So share this video with someone who you think would be interested in investing for dividends as well. And if you joined us from our email list, the title said, stop saving and start investing in dividends, right? And one of the things I've noticed is that, and I help persons coaching. I'm a financial coach, and I'll see this kind of disparity between how much persons save versus how much they invest, right? So persons will invest sometimes 10% of all they have in savings. So even though they're getting dividend income, sometimes it's on a small percentage of their savings, which doesn't necessarily make sense. But of course, that's another topic for another day. We'll talk about that in the Portfolio Makeover Challenge, right? All right, so let's go, right? All right. So I'm just gonna recap dividends for those who may have found us who are brand new. Only 3 slides here, and then I'll talk about the strategy, right? So dividends provide income without you having to sell your shares, right? So there are 2 ways to make money from stocks. capital gains or dividends, right? So dividends are the second way. It's the way that it's a little bit more predictable once you choose the right companies, of course. And of course, dividends aren't guaranteed. We'll talk about that a little bit. But it's just one of the ways, if you know which stocks to pick, how to assess the dividend yield, and what to do with those funds once you get them, then I think you'll be all right. Okay. Next thing here is that dividends can be paid quarterly, biannually, or yearly. And so it really depends on the company. Some, like preference shares or bonds, would pay interest or dividends quarterly. Dividend stocks will typically in Jamaica be paid either quarterly or twice per year. That's the most common. Some will also pay yearly, maybe once a year you may say a dividend, right? Now, the most important thing to understand about dividend, I'm just going to give you everything in the first 10 minutes, right? So the first thing that you need to worry about is the dividend yield, right? You need to understand this calculation before you get into dividend investing. So we're going to spend some time here. I'm going to pick a stock from the JSE. I'm going to calculate the dividend yield using the annual dividends that they would have paid, looking at the price per share and showing you how we calculate the dividend yield, right? I'm going to keep it very simple, not get too technical with it, but to show you the beginner how you would calculate this. In this example, the dividend yield percentage is annual dividends per share. So we're looking at, in this case, how much the company has paid for the year in dividends, right? We're going to look at the current price, and then that's going to give us the yield for that stock, the annual dividend yield. Now, some things to note here, and the caveat as to why this may be important, is that some persons will look at the price per share, meaning the current price. You can also, of course, calculate this based on your own average price. Now, what do I mean by that? If you see the current price of a stock being $19, but you paid $15 for it, then your yield would be higher because you paid a lower price, right? So that's one nuance that some persons don't mention. I'm sharing that with you for you to understand fully how to think about it. So once you find dividend stocks paying you, I would say look at the top 20%, right? So don't focus on the bottom 80% that pay you somewhere between 1% to 3%, right? That's the average on the JSE. We're not focused on those. My personal threshold are for dividend stocks that pay 5% or higher in terms of annual yield. If it does not exceed 5%, I'm not going to be looking at it as a dividend stock for my personal portfolio. All right. I will also say as well, on this platform, as we are a faith-based community, I personally don't invest in what are called sin stocks, right? So Supreme Ventures, Carreras, those are stocks I stay away from. To each his own. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just sharing that as we go through this video, as we talk about dividends, I will be not including those in the mix of whatever I'm talking about. I know some persons are a fan of those stocks. That's completely okay. That's your call, right? For me and my house, we invest according to our faith. We invest according to our beliefs, and so we stay away from those stocks because we've been able to achieve our goals, without them, right? So there's no FOMO for us. There's no wishing that we made more kind of thing, because we've been able to make a lot of money the way that we invest now, and I think that fits in line with our faith, right? So I just wanted to say that just in case you're brand new and you don't fully understand how we do things here. So you'll never hear us talk about those two stocks on this platform in terms of a review, in terms of dividends or anything else, right? And again, I'll just say to each his own. So each person should assess the way that they want to invest and then go that way. All right. So I'm going to show you now how to use this information to calculate the dividend yield. So here's the premise, right? You watch this video, you want to get started with dividends, you hear about a list of dividend stocks, and you want to go now to calculate the yield of that stock, right? So let me let me show you how to go about that process, right? And I'm gonna do everything from scratch here, right? So I'm gonna assume that you've never done this before and you want me to walk you through step by step where to find this, right? I'm gonna tie this into my personal strategy. So I'm gonna be telling you both at the same time, all right? So I'm gonna share my screen here, and this, what you want to look for on the JSE are what are called corporate actions, right? So there are many ways to describe it, but essentially, this is how you know the stocks that have paid dividends, right? So I went to this URL, just search corporate actions Jamaica Stock Exchange in Google, and you'll find this page. You want to set it to all stocks because it will probably start you on the Jamaica Stock Exchange stock, because the Jamaica Stock Exchange is also a listed company. Switch it to all stocks. You may need to set the date. So I set it for January 1st to the current date. Click on update and it will update the entire page. So all of these stocks here are the stocks that paid dividends for 2025. Now there are a few things I need to point out with this list that has some flaws. So I want to guide you through that. So, so there are two resources, right? So there's this one, and then there's the Mayberry trade sheet, right? The Mayberry trade sheet is what I use to update my stock portfolio daily. It feeds into my Excel stock tracker. So I pull the prices from this list. And the thing about this list is that, for example, you notice we see proven JA. We don't see any other, well, we see a local proven here. So proven has two types of shares. They have a USD share and they have a Jamaican share, right? So there's proven here and then proven JA. When we come back to this list though, you only see proven, right? So what you have to do is look for the ones that are paying dividends in USD, and you'll notice you have other stocks that, for example, Massey, that have a Trinidad dollars thing, and then we have one that I think pays another currency, which is Barbados. That is CPFV, right? So I'm sharing this with you, which means you'll need to do a conversion of these if you're looking at these stocks to Jamaican dollars to calculate the dividend yield based on a Jamaican dollar stock price, right? That was a little bit technical. You can rewatch the video if it's not clear, but there is a disparity between how some stocks are listed here versus how it appears on the JSE. That's one. And two, some stocks will pay dividends in a currency other than Jamaican dollars. So you want to look out for that and then just do that conversion before you calculate it. And that you should be fine from there, right? So I'm going to take a stock from this list. Let me choose one that's a little interesting here. All right, guys, let me know which stock I should do this example for. NCB. No, let's do Seprod, right? All right, we're gonna choose Seprod, right? So Seprod has announced 2 dividends this year, right? Thursday, May 2nd and Friday, October 17th. And when you click on this link, it brings you over to the ticker, right? So I'm gonna right click here, open tab in new browser, and it brings it to the instrument summary page for that stock. So remember, we need 2 pieces of information here, right? We need the annual dividends per share and we need the price per share, all right? So those are the 2 pieces of information that we need. So we have the price per share, which is $77.77, and we need the annual dividend, right? The two dividends that they would have announced for this year, right? So those are the 2 pieces of information we need. So let's do that calculation now. Usually I would do the calculation in Excel, but I don't want to intimidate anybody. So I'm going to stay away from Excel. So the first one is 0.6050 plus 0.6050. That's what Seprod has announced for this year. So we divide that by $77.77. So that here is showing if you multiply this by 100 now, you'll get a 1.5% dividend yield, right? So if you bought Seprod shares as a dividend investor, based on the dividends that they paid this year, the yield would be 1.5%, right? You may say to me, well, Jermaine, that sounds really low. That's because it is based on the current price, based on the amount of dividends they have paid, the yield would be that. Now, in other years, we see where Separad announced dividends for 3 times last year. So that's the thing you should note with dividends, right? Sometimes companies may announce 2 times or 3 times or 4 times. It depends sometimes on how good their year is and how much additional cash they want to pay out to investors, right? So you want to do some research to look to see the history or pattern for the company, because we see for 2024, they did almost $1.80. The year before, they did $1.50. So it will vary, right? So that's something that you want to be aware of. And it's maybe a good idea to look at maybe the last 2 to 3 years, so you get a feel for it, especially if within the last year, they might not have paid consistently. So personally, as a dividend investor, Separad would not make my list for dividends. Now, I may look at them for value, or I may look at them for growth, but not for dividends, right? In this case, so I would keep looking to find a stock that would give me a more attractive yield, right? Let's try another one here, right? So we have Wisynco here. Let me just right click, view in another tab. So Wisynco's current price is $20, and they announced 2 dividends this year, right? So 46 cents in total divided by $20. So their yield for Wisynco would be 2.3%. Now that would be higher than Separad yield. So we're getting closer to our target, right? So my personal target, as I said, is 5% or higher, right? Let me try one more stock here. So we have TransJamaica right above it. So let's right click on that one. So TransJamaica's current price is $4.21, and they would have announced 2 dividends this year, right? So 12 cents and 12. So we're going to add those 2 together. So 0.1258 plus 0.1292. And then we're going to divide that by $4.21. And that's a 6% dividend yield, right? So TransJamaica, even if you bought the shares at the current price and they pay the same dividend next year, that would be a 6% dividend yield, right? So you get a 6% return on your investment, not counting for any capital gains that you may get with the stock as well, all right? So that's how you calculate the yield. I wanted to get that out the way before I talk about my strategy, because my strategy is based a lot on the dividend yield and how that factors into my overall strategy, all right? So let me know if you have any question based on the yield before I move forward, right? Let me see any other comments here. So Marcia is asking if it's too late for TransJamaica. It depends. Are you investing for dividends, or are you investing for capital gains? 2 different questions. So it's based on what you're asking. Denville is saying, started my dividend play this year, decided to focus on top 10 sectors of the economy, and then pick the strongest contenders from each, and it's looking good so far. So Denville, how much have you made this year in dividends? That's the question, right? Orville says all dividends are reinvested. Spence says got 24K. The 24th kickstarts my 3rd year of investing. Very motivated. Good job. Is there an app that you're using to track the price paid? As I showed you, so I use the Mayberry trade sheet and I use the JSE. Those are the 2 sites I use. I track everything in Excel. I'm an Excel person, right? So I like to be able to do formulas, create my own charts, do that kind of thing. That excites me, right? So that is what I do. So I don't use an app, right? 198,000 Shireen, that is awesome. Congratulations to you. Companies can pay better. It depends, right? Because if the company's stock price has grown considerably, I would understand if the yield is a little bit low. So in Separad's case, the price is $77. So you would have gotten some capital gains if you've been investing for a while. But for the companies priced lower, like maybe Awisinco, I think Awisinco's dividend yield could be at least 4%, and some others, right? Shergin says, I don't calculate the yield based on the market price, but based on the average price that I paid per share. That is what I recommend as well. So I agree with that approach. That is what I use as well. All right. Yuri says, so far I got around 200K. Congrats to you, sir. Daniel says, Separate actually declared 3 dividends this year. Okay, so I missed the last one. Would that change the yield that much though? Let me see. So you said they did $1.81 divided by 77.77. That's 2.3%. That's still halfway where we want to go though, right? If your average price is lower than higher yields, exactly, which is why, right? If you're a dividend, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, right? All right, Shells, you are halfway through the stream. We're halfway done, right? Okay, so I'm sharing the strategy. I'm just about to get into the strategy though. Shells, you haven't missed that part, right? So let me bring back the slide that I had before, because this is the meat of the whole thing, right? Let me share my screen. This is going to be the meat of what I'm really going to be talking about this year. Hopefully you can see it that way. So back in 2022, so this would be 2021. 2021, I made $125,000 in dividends, and the 3 years, that's 2019, 2020, 2021, I made $290,000. So all 3 years combined, right? And as I said, you know, I thought that was like a great year for dividends, over 100,000. I was happy. But then I started to think about, you know, am I really, you know, maximizing dividends? And when I saw how the market would have shifted in 2020, 2021, I actually started to change my strategy. So 2022 was the year. So this post was the 3rd of January. Later this month was when I started to optimize my portfolio for dividends. So my dividend investment journey has really been the last 3 years. Even though I made money from dividends before, I was prioritizing cap gains, right? So I was focused mainly on buying shares for growth, selling them at a certain percentage gain, taking the profits, and then looking for other opportunities, right? What I realized is that when the market shifted, when investors were going to start valuing dividend companies, I started to say, okay, well, how can I maximize for both, right? So the first thing that I'll say in terms of my strategy here is going to come down to your mindset, right? So you have to kind of think about the type of investor you want to be, and you want to optimize your portfolio for that, right? So in my case, I really try to get the best of both, right? So I try to make a target amount from my portfolio per year, right? So whatever my portfolio value is, I determine at the start of the year how much profit I want to make. So for example, my goal for this year, for example, might be to make a few. I won't say the exact amount here, but my goal is to make X million from my overall portfolio, right? And then I'm gonna break that down to say I want to make X from dividends, and I want to make Y from capital gains, right? So I do some key trades to make the capital gains, and I have certain positions that are maximized for dividends, right? So that's my mindset 1. That's my strategy 2, right? So I'm going to focus on the dividend strategy in this video. So that's what we're going to say for the next 30 minutes, right? So when I look at the dividend stocks that I want to invest in, so I go through that list of corporate actions from the year before. So January 2025, I'm looking at the entire year for 2024. Now, what I will say about that, so for example, let's say for this year, I would have looked at my portfolio last year and said, well, Dolphin Cove was one of the stocks I'm expecting to pay X percentage dividend yield this year, because Dolphin Cove paid, I think, close to a 10% yield last year. So at the start of the year, I was positioned in Dolphin Cove for dividends, and that didn't work out. As you saw in February or March, parent company announced bankruptcy. I had to change strategies, right? That's also something that you have to be aware of with dividends. You have to understand the underlying fundamentals of each company, because that will impact whether or not they can pay you a dividend or not, right? Just because they paid dividends the year before doesn't mean that they'll pay a dividend this year. That's very important to note, right? So I had to switch from Dolphin Cove in terms of my dividend allocation and switch to something else, right? So I thought about the target amount I wanted to make in dividends. And so for last year, we certainly wanted to beat what we made last year. Last year, we made about 500,000 in dividends, right? So I wanted to surpass that this year. So I did my calculation, looked at the cash that I had invested, and then I worked out how much I could reasonably make in dividends based on the overall positions that I had, right? Usually I recommend, and this is what I teach as well, your ideal portfolio should be 10 stocks, right? Maximum 10, minimum 6, broken down in these 3 ways, right? So you have dividend stocks, you have growth stocks, and you have value stocks. So your dividend stocks are your stocks for income. So in my case, I looked at the top 3 stocks that would pay me the best dividend yield in terms of a projection, right? So I'm doing that math, looking to see what's there, and I'm picking the best 3 dividend stocks I can find that aligns with my morals and goals, of course, right? So I excluded the ones that I mentioned before, and I looked at the best 3 paying dividend stocks, and I said, okay, let me see what times a year they pay, let me see what price they're at, let me see how I think that stock will trade, because if I see an opportunity to purchase it at a certain price to optimize on the yield, then I will do that as well, right? I can't get into the details of that in an hour. I'll save that maybe for the portfolio challenge, right? So I looked at those 3. I did a calculation to see how much I would need to invest to get the money that I want to make. So if I want to make $500,000 in dividends, I look at that calculation and then see how much I would need to invest to get that, right? So I do that calculation, and then I start to, over the course of the year, to position myself in those companies in order to achieve the goal that I have for income specifically, right? Now, that's it, right? It didn't take me more than 5 minutes to explain it, really. So I set the targets, identify the stocks, calculate the yield, and then over the year, right? Because there are many different opportunities to buy the stocks that will give me the payout that I'm looking for. So there's a little bit of strategy in it where I'm trying to buy the stocks at the right time, right? So it comes with a certain amount of understanding in the market, because I'm not going to want to pay a higher price when I have an assessment that a stock may trade lower at a certain point of the year, right? And if you understand how the market works, you understand with seasons of the year, stocks will tend to trade lower than others. So certainly I'm not going to be buying a dividend stock close to a dividend declaration date or close to a dividend X date. It wouldn't make sense for me to buy close to that date, especially if it's an attractive dividend. My yield would be lower, all right? So that is the story here. So as I said, for last year, we did more than $500,000 in dividends. The year is not done yet for us for this year. We may actually get another dividend payment or 2. And so I will, this year, I believe year to date, which I did promise that I'll share that number, we are estimated to be maybe about 800,000 right now in terms of dividends. So I'm hoping that we'll end the year higher than that. We'll see what the year ends like. But that's where we are as at the point of this video, right? That's my rough estimate because I don't have all the stocks. There are some stocks that I held throughout the year that I didn't know paid a dividend because I was investing for capital gains. So I would need to calculate those, of course. All right. All right. So are there any questions from what I have said? Let me see what is being said. Denville said, haven't gotten that deep yet. Still learning to research and calculate all that. Denville, right? So all you need to do is track. So track your purchases, track your sales. If you go to JTrader, it shows you all of that, right? I hope you're buying and selling for yourself, by the way. So there's that as well. Michael says, why interrupt the reinvestment of dividends and capital gains? You're paying unnecessary capital gains. Keep to wealth creation to reinvest your dividends and let compounding do its magic over decades. Well, Michael, the strategy I use now is based on the capital that I have. Now, I don't have set it and forget it capital, right? I have, on one side, I'm trying to build and grow a business, which takes a lot of cash. And on the other side, I have my family monthly expenses and things to take care of, right? So there are months when cash is at a premium, right? It's so I invest for both because that's how I build wealth, right? I believe if you earn a certain amount of money, you're able to keep your expenses low, then you can just keep buying, leave it, that's fine. I'm not sure that strategy works for Jamaica, honestly, Michael. I say there are some things maybe in the US markets I'd see myself buying and holding. I've learned in Jamaica because I looked at some of my portfolios back in 2021, 2022, 2023. If I held those portfolios, I'd be down significantly right now. So for the Jamaican market, buy and hold strategy doesn't work for me, not anymore. So I have to interrupt it. I do my calculation, and I'm still ahead even after fees. If I'm doing a capital gain trade, I'm trying to get somewhere between 10 to 15% at minimum. And for dividends, depending on the stock, I may not trade it, but it depends, right? If it is that I feel like I can maximize the dividends that way, then I do it, right? I think that's just what makes sense for me and where my capital is. Shells says, North America and UK stocks already outperform my 2025 goals. That's amazing. I will be assessing JSE stocks. I don't like how the JSE on the down. COVID was years ago. Stop blaming things on COVID. Well, some companies haven't recovered, right? There's still money to be made on the JSE, but I take your point, right? I saw, I'm tracking the US markets a lot now. I'm looking at other markets now, and I'm seeing where there are a lot of opportunities outside Jamaica. So one of the things we're doing in the investment challenge is, look, this weekend, actually, we're going to be looking at alternative investments. So like US markets, stocks, crypto, commodities, etc. Those are the things we're going to be looking at in the challenge community because we want our community members to know what's available outside Jamaica. So I agree with you there. We need to see improvements like TJH not charging for a toll almost 2 years is ridiculous. I'm inclined to agree. Now I know how shareholders in the Fortune 500 feels. Yes. Okay, do it through Moneyline. Then you should be able to get your statement. Your statement will show you, right? Jason is asking, is it bad that I don't know how much I made in dividends? Yes, sir. All right. The Bible says, know the state of your flocks and pay attention to your herds, right? So you need to know the state of your flocks, Jason. You need to know how much you made. So you can track your ROI, your return on investment, right? Amara says, greetings. What are some stocks you'd recommend to start my portfolio? So Amaro, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome. We don't tell you what stocks to buy here. We teach you how to identify and pick stocks for yourself. So you have some options. You can watch our Investing for Beginners playlist. It's available here on YouTube. find the playlist, watch those 10 videos. You learn all you need to get started. If you want to take the next step after that, join our monthly investment challenge, or even join our portfolio makeover challenge. I'll share more about that in about 10 minutes, but you can join that to help you know how to get started. All right. Let me see if anyone over Instagram saying anything. Instagram is silent tonight. I see a few persons here, but no questions, no comments, nothing over Instagram. I see a few persons over LinkedIn, like Michael is over LinkedIn, but that's about it. So question here, you buy a stock that falls in price, but the yield is still above your goal. Is that possible? Yes, because remember, yield is a function of price. The lower the price, the higher the yield, assuming the annual dividends remain the same. So that's what you want in a dividend stock. Now you want to ensure that it's not a sign of trouble while the price is going down. So if the company, there's actually a specific way that I look for dividend stocks. So those strategies to picking dividend stocks, we do share in the portfolio makeover challenge. So that would be, where you go to learn that one in terms of what I personally look for. But there are things to look for dividend stocks, because the price going down might be a sign of trouble, but it may not be. Once there's no sign of trouble, you're fine. Romario, there may be an IPO or two. I cannot say either way at this point. The JSE is unpredictable. All right. I'll take any questions that are there. I've shared my strategy. It's going to be a great year for dividends. I hope it's the same for you too. Let me find the slide for those who are joining us a little bit late. So we're asking persons to say, you can write it in the comments below, how much did you make in dividends this year? That's what we're talking about tonight. I shared my strategy for making, I think we're going to do about 800,000 in dividends for this year. It's going to be our best year of dividends. So by that math, I think the total that we're looking at, maybe almost $2 million in dividends over the last 8 years. I need to fill in how much we made for 2023. I don't remember 2023. But I know how much we made for 2018 to 2021. I remember 2022, then I remember 2024. I kind of had a gap here or there. So I just need to look back at my records, but I think we're close to the $2 million mark in overall dividends. But for the first 4 years, we weren't optimized for dividends at all, right? We were more focused on capital gains. We did really well that way. I remember even some trades being, 100% profit or higher. But then I also saw an opportunity to maximize for dividends, to maximize for income, right? Without having to sell my shares. And so that's what I started doing for the last 4 years, really doing the best of both, right? So I was leaving money on the table by not maximizing for dividends. And so that's what we started doing. So yeah. I personally don't. I mean, bond interest, it's income, right? So I'd classify it as income for sure. I don't know if I'd consider it a dividend because it's technically not, but some persons do, right? Let me just be honest with you. Some persons do. They may consider it a dividend. So some persons do. Would you say trading stock and day trading are the same? I think so. I don't know anybody who wouldn't consider it the same. Now, what I say here, Yardi, is that there is a difference between trading and investing. Now, I do think, the conversation about whether or not you are a trader or an investor, I think it's practical in our market to do both, meaning when you purchase a stock, you're placing a trade. That's what they call it, right? But there are schools of thought which say, you invest for the long term. You don't buy with the expectation to sell in the short term. You invest for the long term. You buy and hold. And there's some school of thought that say, well, you buy and you sell at a certain profit, you focus on maximizing your profit in the short term. So they're both schools of thought. I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think each individual should determine what strategy makes sense for them. And so we teach you how to do both. We teach you how to make a decision for yourself as to how you want to invest, and that informs what you do, right? So we do teach in our challenge how to make the strategic trade, but maybe like 70% of it is going to be focused on investing strategies, building portfolios, etc. But I could not leave our challenge members without them understanding how to make certain, what I call the obvious trade, right? Because there are certain activities that you see them and you know that the stock price is going to go up and then go back down, or you know that the stock price is going to go down. So it would make sense to me to make a strategic trade in that case to maximize your profits, right? Because when you're trying to build a portfolio from 100,000 to 1 million to 5 million to 10 million, I think you need to trade more, because if you just buy and hold, it's going to take you longer to grow that portfolio, especially if the markets aren't just going up, right? It's a very long-winded explanation. Hopefully that, yeah. Shell says, so the title, not monthly salary and dividends. Read the title again, Shells, right? So what I'm saying is I've made in this year more in dividends than I make in any 1 month with my salary, right? So I'll say read it again. I'm certainly not a clickbait type of guy, so I try to deliver on what my title says. So it says my strategy for making more than my monthly salary in dividends. I didn't say my annual salary, right? I certainly make more than $800,000 a year, but 800,000 is more than I make in any 1 month, right? So that's the explanation for the title, right? Yeah, so I mean, Shells, I hope you understand what I'm saying, just reading your message again. Because I did think about, how to ensure that I'm being honest in my delivery. That is certainly important for me. All right, so I think there are no more questions. So I'm going to probably leave it here. Let me just check the community for any questions as well. Final call for questions. So let me see here. All right, no questions there. So Jason's asking, how soon would one begin? I think as soon as you start investing, you should start tracking your dividends, because I didn't always track, right? When I first started wanting to track it, I had to go back and try to find receipts and calculate and all of that stuff. So you want to track as soon as you start investing, right? Yeah, I would say that. So infinite moments, that question I can't answer. We're in Jamaica, unfortunately. I saw a video today, infinite moments, that the person said they inherited $20 million and then they showed how they spent it. I'm like, it would be like, that's not the type of video you do in Jamaica. It's just our culture. You don't do that. I don't always agree with that, but I certainly don't want to be the first to do that. I try to protect my family, my wife. So even the amount we make in dividends for the year, a few years ago, I may not have felt comfortable sharing that information. It's kind of back and forth for me sometimes now. with that, honestly. So I can't share how much I've invested, because that I'll only share in an offline setting. But yeah, right. I used to seeing candlesticks. Certainly. But here's the thing, Yardi. If you are familiar with technical analysis and you understand like trading psychology and investor psychology, the JSE should be easier for you, right? Christopher says $9,166 in dividends. That's great, Christopher. Congrats. Do you have any info about West Indies Petroleum? Absolutely not. I know what you know, right? So I don't know anything, unfortunately. Why is R.A. Williams struggling? I do not know. Struggling in what sense? The business is struggling or the stock price is struggling? All right. Which stock normally does extremely well in the fourth quarter? Michael, you're asking the right question. That is a question to ask. I'll share my answer in another video. Michael, when will they start charging for the Mumbai leg? This month, Yardi. This month. There are apps where YouTube creators and others users have shared their entire portfolio public to their users in the investment group. I mean, I don't know about, so I've seen some of those videos. Typically it's either a small amount, or typically those persons, their identities aren't known, right? In my case, I'm a very, wouldn't say well known, but I'm reasonably known, and I don't feel comfortable doing that for the sake of my family. Maybe if I was single in my 20s or my 30s, I'd feel comfortable sharing that for sure. Could definitely not do that in Jamaica for sure. Exactly, right? So I've seen persons do it, overseas, no problem. But Jamaica is smaller than you think, right? Do you keep a cash position to take advantage of short-term opportunities? Excellent question. Right? I think I'll do a video on this one in particular. Answer is yes. But I don't keep it for too long, right? So cash is a big part of my asset allocation strategy. So I do extensive research in studying what sort of activities or events will trigger stock price movement. And so I keep cash for those activities, especially if I've done the research on a sector or a specific stock, and I try to maximize for that, right? When will Sagicor convert to the select funds? I do not know. I'm waiting for that update, just as you are. Forgive me, Michael. Forgive me. R.A. Williams was hype up to pre-listing, then fell flat on their face. You're talking about the stock price. I haven't looked at the financials in a little bit, right? The app and the creator. Oh, well, in Jamaica, Shells, you're talking about Jamaicans. I know Demetrius does his dividend videos. I think Demetrius's portfolio is kind of small compared to mine. That's no offense to him. Of course, we're different ages, right? Demetrius, I think, started to share his journey from he started, right? From he would get like $6,000 per year, $10,000 per year in dividends. Now he's getting, I think, a few $100,000 or over $100,000. That's different, I think, because I think our culture is one that if you're starting out, then people don't mind. They'll kind of share in the journey with you. They'll celebrate you. When you get to a certain point, there are some persons who feel like you're either showing off or you're entitled or something like that. It's hard to know what people really think, because it's not a two-way conversation, right? I don't know all 126 persons watching the stream right now. I only know most of you through a name that is probably not even your name, right? So there are names, in the chat that aren't your real names. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know if you live next door or you live in another country. So those things make it tricky to work with that, right? Do you think we will start seeing AI companies launch on our stock market in Jamaica? If any, it's going to be Amber Group. I know they're very big on AI, so who knows? They may very well list. It's just safer to do it in those countries. The app and live meetups regularly. Yeah, exactly, right? So here's the thing. Do I ever think I'll be in a position to share the size of my portfolio? Yes, I think. And as I said, if I were in private, I would share that information like readily. If we're standing face to face talking, I'd tell you, right? I'd tell you exactly where I am, what I'd share a little bit more openly. That's kind of who I am in general. I'm the guy at work, talking about, how much I made and things like that, because I don't necessarily see a reason to hide that information, because I think when you talk about things like that, it makes it easier for persons to either negotiate a higher salary or for persons to know exactly what their role is worth, things like that, right? But certainly on a public forum, I've learned to just have a little restraint and to just do things in a certain way. So I'll never post the value of my portfolio. I'll maybe post what I have in my portfolio. I may talk about, one or two stocks independently, but I won't share my overall net worth. I won't share my overall, position. No, I will. I do think that, do I think it would get me more views if I shared more content like that? Yes. Do I want to just build a platform based on views? No. Right? So I have to navigate that as best as I can, right? Adrian says, after 1 year of investing, I've made $28,000 after taxes. That's excellent, Adrian. Which stocks are you watching now and have done research on? Infinite Moments, check out the last 2 videos that I've done. Those are the stocks I'm watching now. I'm curious, what do you think caused the big dip in Carreras today? Livingston Mitchell, you may be new here. I said it earlier in the video. 2 stocks I don't analyze, I don't talk about, I don't look at: Carreras and SVL. I couldn't tell you. I don't tell you why. I don't know why the price went down. I couldn't tell you. I'm not the best person to ask. I hope no more IPOs for the year because they affect stock price significantly. Well, Michael, well. I am hoping for an IPO because of that same strategy I spoke of, right? I would love to increase my dividend yield on some stocks. I'd love to get some capital gains on some stocks. So go for it. Yardi says, so how the candlesticks, and I think you need to rephrase this question. Amber Robots coming in December. Co-worker will set me up. I mean, I'm not worried about that part though, but I mean, I get you. 2026 should be a great year for dividends. Looking forward to it. Spence, I think I'm agreeing with you. I also got dividends from my US portfolio, which I did not think I calculated in this video, right? Yeah. So Amber Robots is an Indian group, isn't it? Hype up Jamaican AI companies one. So I don't think One-on-One is an AI company. I wouldn't classify it as such. I would call it a tech company. I'd call it an education company. I'd call it an ed tech company. I wouldn't call it an AI company. Not yet. Not yet. All right. So I got 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes. Any final questions? Dwayne, I miss hearing you talk about Dolphin Cove. What is there to talk about? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, that statement made me laugh. I don't have anything to say about Dolphin Cove anymore. I don't have anything to say about Dolphin Cove. But maybe I'll cover them. I'll cover them again soon. Who knows? I think so too, Shells. Shells, you sound like somebody who reasons out the market well. every company will soon become an AI company. I don't agree with that. How can I analyze the day stock market without seeing any candles? Oh, so let me make it easy for you. So the side of technical analysis, which focuses on psychology, that focuses on you know, like understanding trends, things like that. Focus on the psychology piece in Jamaica and you'll do extremely well, right? Fundamentals are important, but not for the obvious reasons, right? So how I teach investing, I focus on the business, right? So we're not necessarily concerned with fundamentals or technicals either way. I mean, we understand a bit of both, or understanding the business and understanding how to build a portfolio, things like that, right? Rajay is asking, do I think Fesco's price will go up anytime soon? Fesco. Future Energy Source. What's the company? I can't remember. But yes, I think so actually. Within the next 12 months for sure, I think so. If Jeremy never says I don't have anything to say about Trans Jamaica, then it's time to sell. Shells. You know, I may have a surprise for you, right? Very soon. You know what? I'm not gonna spoil it. Just turn on notifications and you'll see that day, right? Because I have a very specific timeline for Trans Jamaica, a very specific timeline, right? And I do have a target price. I do think there's a target window, and my thesis is solid, and it's a very specific set of events, very specific timeline, and then who knows? Who knows? Right? The Dolphin Cove ex-owner said he was willing to buy back the company. What happened to that? Nothing. We haven't seen him buy it back yet. Dolphin Cove can be a massive opportunity, but I'm observing from afar. Me too. So Michael, I think you should tell me what stocks to buy. Michael, if based on what you're making in dividends, Michael, you could probably lend me some money, right? Would love your insight on Proven. They have been sliding. I thought you said hiding. I don't think Proven is my type of company. Based on I'm not sure I understand their business. In my mind, they're like real estate, private equity, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know if those businesses do well in our market. I haven't looked at their numbers in a very long time, maybe from 2020, 2021. I used to be a Proven shareholder. I sold years ago. I haven't looked at them since. So I'm not sure where they are currently. But it's not the type of stock I look for. It doesn't fit into my dividend portfolio. I don't consider it a growth stock. And there are other value stocks that I would rank higher than that. So I don't follow them that much. Stock price for Trans Jamaica might dip if the storm comes and destroys some of the road infrastructure. The storm is not going to be that bad. I'm not worried about that. And Trans Jamaica has been consistently repairing the roads. I think their roads will probably hold up better than most. Is Eddie Focal still suspended? Is that the point of this video? Yes. Last time I checked, I think I saw something about them changing auditors, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if that's the news that we were expecting to see from them. So yeah, I don't know there, right? So let me see. I'm checking Instagram one more time. Nobody has said anything over Instagram tonight. Nicola, I see you on Instagram. DJ Nath is saying, I miss hearing you talk about Dolphin Cove. I feel like this is Duane. Probably same person here. I'm seeing some people over on IG. You guys should be over on YouTube, right? But yeah. And yeah, so let me focus on closing out here, right? So we're just over the hour. Fontana has been hovering around $9 to $11 for years now. That is correct. That's why they're not in my portfolio right now. If total mashup, nah, that's not gonna happen for Trans Jamaica. I'm a dividend and value investor. I see you, Michael. I see you. Total would still be a better option for you. Yes, guys, drive only on Trans Jamaica for the rest of the year. I'd appreciate it. What are your thoughts on CFF? Was looking at them recently, but I see where the top 10 has about 91% of the shares. I'm thinking if you need to finish that statement. When is the Indies update coming? My coffee getting cold. Did I promise an Indies update? I'm waiting on the next report. I do have Indies in my portfolio. I can tell you that much. I'm an Indie shareholder as at this point. I don't see any reason for them not to be in my portfolio right now. That is what I will say. Yeah. So Priority Mindset says yes. What are you saying yes to Priority Mindset? Any word on Spur Tree? I'm watching them. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with Spur Tree. I know they had, I still haven't watched their AGM video as yet. Somebody was sharing with me some of the updates. I don't know. Maybe I need to invite Albert to come back and speak. Top 10 have 90+% of shares, then the stock are really listed. What do I think about Kintyre Holdings? I don't want to end up in the paper. I don't want a lawsuit. That is what I think. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. About the Indies review. Okay. I do not know. I will think about it. Maybe I'll do an Indies review by the end of the year. This virtually shattered my heart. I can never look back. How many stocks do you own on the local stock market? About 6. Well, 5. Because I own both the USD and the local Trans Jamaica shares, Indies, and I won't say the rest of them right now. But I have 5 stocks. 5 stocks locally. No Dolphin Cove in the portfolio right now. No Wigton in the portfolio right now. Kintyre Holdings fixed the wrong problem. It wasn't the name of the company that's a problem. I am not, listen, I do not want to get an email tomorrow that Learn Grow Invest is being sued. I stay away from those things. I like my life. I like that nobody has tried to sue me for anything. I did have, what was it? A cease and desist. That's about the only excitement I've had in my entire career as a YouTuber, and I prefer it that way. Well, guys, I have no comment there. No comment there. I leave those alone. I will say though, I say to my community members that I typically stay away from controversial stocks. It's just not my style. So if a stock is having controversy, whether it be in the paper or some lawsuit or anything like that, that negative sentiment, even if best case it puts persons in a mixed position where some hate the company, some love the company, the fact that there are a group of investors that hate the company, to me that's a recipe for a stock that will likely have some difficulties growing, even if the company is doing well. So, and if you think about it, all the stocks that are considered to be controversial, they struggle to grow, right? So I don't typically touch those, honestly. It's not worth it for me. Infinite Moment said, so 5 stocks brought in 800K in dividends. You invest heavily in these stocks. What do you call heavy? And by the way, just because I have 5 stocks now doesn't mean I only owned 5 stocks throughout the year. Bear that in mind, because I do, as I said, I do make trades. I've traded maybe 4 or 5 times for this year. But when you say invest heavily, what do you call heavy? I don't think it's heavy. I was thinking it's a stock. Before, well, yeah, I was gonna say something else, but I want to share this before I go. Portfolio Makeover Challenge, guys. This is it. So for all of you who are here, if your portfolio is not growing, if your portfolio, especially if your portfolio is in a loss, right? You want to learn how to assess your portfolio. You want to learn how to pick stocks, right? I know we talk mostly about Transjamaica here, but there are other stocks on the market that are worthwhile to have in your portfolio. So we'll talk about how to pick them, what to look for, how to create a watch list, how to move on that watch list, how to rebalance in the right way. Rebalancing is something I learned how to do back in 2021. I've done it every year since. Every year I rebalance my portfolio. It has served me well. Very importantly, you want to learn when to buy, when to sell. Most investors do not know that, right? So, think about joining the Portfolio Makeover Challenge. It's for 3 days. We'll take your portfolio. So persons who sign up, they submit their portfolio. Of course, we don't share your name, and we do a live portfolio review, just applying all the strategies that we've learned over the 3 days for persons to be able to optimize, right? So we're not telling you with stocks to buy. We're not we're not getting into that, because we don't need to, right? We're teaching you everything you need to manage your portfolio yourself. I actually have something to report here, right? I met with a client recently who joined our challenge in January. At the time, she had 20 plus stocks. And we met for one of our consultations recently, because she had booked a bundle, right? A four consultation sessions throughout the year. So we meet like maybe once a quarter. And we were looking at her portfolio, and I was so impressed, right? I looked at her portfolio and I said to her, I actually would not change anything, right? She picked those stocks herself. She decided on them herself. And I looked at it. I gave her one feedback, and that was it. But I was so proud to see that she was able to filter down from over 20 stocks. I think she had 9 stocks in her portfolio, or 10. And so she went through that herself. Her portfolio tripled in value. She was profitable by more than half of those stocks. So I was very impressed, and I was like, she was able to learn all of this from being in the monthly challenge, right? So I don't believe I'd shared this at the start. I probably should have led with this, but that was awesome. That felt like a big win to see, right? Because I used to, one of the questions we used to get a lot is, what stock should I buy? What stock should I buy? Like, I can find DMs now on Facebook, on Instagram, what stock should I buy? And I was like, guys, we're not here to tell you what stocks to buy. We're here to teach you to decide for yourself, right? So not only did she trim down our portfolio, she's making money investing. She knows what to invest in each month. And I didn't have to tell her what to buy or what to sell. She made that decision herself. She even had stocks in the portfolio that I did not even mention or cover. It was a solid portfolio, right? If you're watching, because I said I would shout you out. I mean, of course, I told her I wouldn't use her name, but very, very proud of you, community member. So I said I would share that, right? So yeah. Doing it. So yes, Jermaine, be careful. But dollar was controversial and it has grown tremendously. I don't think dollar is considered controversial, but it depends on what you call controversy. Is JetCon a dead stock? I don't think I've ever looked at JetCon. I don't know. Ask Chike. Chike, if you're watching this question is for you. Controversy, push up that company's stock price, when the same controversy push it back down, they get mad. I don't know who you're talking about. I will not assume to know who. Do you think NCB is going to start growing again? Absolutely. I think NCB has upside. I think that their dividend yield is attractive, or getting close to attractive. And I think there's more to come. There are some concerns I would have personally, NCB. Not going to share those publicly at this point. Liking the 5% and above yield number. Now that kicks in another challenge from a challenge. Denville, if you really want a challenge, join the monthly investment challenge. You only have 3 more months of it. So you can join for 3 months. You can also join the portfolio makeover challenge if you want to accept that challenge. Thoughts on GK? I don't know. My thing with GK, right? Solid company. I think 100 years old or more. My concern with companies of that size is how do they continue to grow? How do they increase value for shareholders? Because if the price is not going, how can they meaningfully grow cash to give a return to shareholders via dividends, right? I think when I calculated GK's dividend yield, it was below 2%, right? So the dividend yield is not there. Capital gains, not so much either. I know there were talks of GK maybe being listed. I know there are talks of maybe a stock split for their 100th year anniversary. Like, there are many things I've heard about GK over the years. I don't think it's ever made my watch list. Like the company, I do business with GK Insurance. I do business, well, I had an FGB account. I don't have one anymore. But GK as a company, love them. I don't think they would fit in my portfolio right now, though. Right? What controversy is dollar in? I don't see. Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't see controversy over dollar at all. Based on what you said earlier, you would not buy a Trans Jamaica at this time. Not following you, Carol. Based on what I said, let me know. Thoughts on Massey? I think Massey is interesting. Yeah, I'd have to probably look at what's happening with them recently. I used to do videos on Massey a couple of years back when they did the cross listing and things like that, but I haven't followed them in a while, right? Thoughts on Tropical Battery? I'm watching to see their next report. I think Tropical made some missteps, if I'm being honest. They made some missteps, in my opinion, in terms of how everything was handled. The restatement, I think, hurt them. The APO, how that went down, that hurt them as well. Do I think they will recover? Yes. Do I think they'll have a down year for 2025? Yes. Do I think they'll recover in the next 12 to 18 months? Yes. Right, so that's what I'll say with Tropical Battery. Hello. Hey, Jermaine, whatever happened to the Telegram group? Is it still about? Join this group, sir. We're over here now. We're on Kajabi. This is where we meet. This is where we talk. So you can join us over here. All right. Do you invest in the stock market? And if so, how do you invest in the US stock market? Yes. So you do that. Let me show that to you. All right, I'm staying on a little bit longer because I know that I'm not going in office tomorrow, so I'll stay for another 10 minutes. Otherwise, I need to like get up early and that stuff. So investing in the US markets, hopefully I can find it. Here, so you want to watch this video, investing in the US stock markets from the Caribbean, okay? Watch this video, it'll show you what I use. I use Interactive Brokers. There's a link for Interactive Brokers in the chat of this video. You can use that to sign up, all right? So Romario, check out this video, all right? My thoughts on Omni. I would say my thoughts on Omni, watch this video, or watch the prospectus review, watch the interview, and read their most recent report, which I haven't. So Roger, I'd say check those out for Omni. I think Tropical Battery Report would be good. The US side, especially with Trump madness, it would benefit greatly. For Rose batteries, yeah. Good. Thoughts on Jamaica broilers? Not a stock that I think would. I think they're gonna have maybe some challenges for the next 6 to 12 months. I've seen mixed reviews. There are persons who think that they'll do fine. There are persons who think that they're gonna not do well. I think the industry they're in will do well. I think they need to get a handle on what's happening in the US. I'm waiting to see the health of the US operations first. So they were on my watch list at the start of the year, just like Dolphin Cove, and then the whole thing happened. So I'm watching them. I'm a fan of the company. They're one of the faith-based companies on the market. So Jamaica Broilers, RPL, Image Plus, etc. They're companies that it's clear where they stand in terms of the faith. Of course, it doesn't speak to the whole company, but the CEOs, etc. So I know them through other circles, right? So I certainly wish the company well, but I think they're gonna have the next 12 months see them recovering from what has happened, right? All right, so Denville said you're gonna mark the date for the makeover challenge. Yeah, so it's a good place to start for sure. Yeah. Atlantic, solid company. They're gonna be on my watch list for 2026. Atlantic, for sure. Apart from Interactive Brokers, are there any other brokers? Why you don't want to use Interactive Brokers, sir? Use Interactive Brokers, please, and use my affiliate link. Thank you very much. Why do you want me to recommend a company that I don't use? And that's how I work, right? Okay. All right. Have we ever reviewed AMG packaging? Not recently. Not recently. I used to review them back in 2017, 2018. Haven't looked at them in a while. All right. So I don't understand the question, Garfield. But RPL, their earnings call should be coming up in about 2 weeks, right? I think the report is due November 14th. So 3 weeks. Highly anticipated, I would say. So yep. All right, guys, so just leaving this again, final call to action, portfolio makeover challenge. What I would probably do, is hold that thought. People need to select their broker. Listen, I can tell you some stories about that. What did he make of the ECL article published by Dashan the other day? Send that to me. I'm not sure. Send it to me on Instagram or in the community. Do you invest in US stocks only for dividends? No. I invest in the US market for cap gains only. But some of the stocks in my portfolio do pay dividends. Reputation and years in business vital. Absolutely. How do you invest in the Trinidad stock market? I do not know. I think Kalila did a video on it years ago. I was watching the TTSE for a while. I wanted to start doing some content on the Trinidad market. I think I got a little preoccupied with how things were going over on the JSC, but I do plan to do more content or start doing content on the TT market. So the steps are, I think, similar to what we have here, but the thing with TT, you probably have to figure out if you're not in Trinidad, you might have some challenges to fund the account. That was the part I wasn't able to work out. So let me get back to you on that, right? So I'll try to work on that maybe for the new year. But as I said, Kalila did a video on it, so I'll check out Kalila's channel for that. David Gray saying, how RPL going? RPL is doing well. RPL is doing excellent. RPL is stocks are being held in the broker's street name. Wake up one day and the broker is no longer in business. I would have a heart attack. Wow. Which broker are you talking about? Which broker are you talking about? Let me know, please. Just in case I have money in there. Denville says, have you ever looked at US ETFs for dividends? No, I have not, because I make enough in dividends on the JSC. The percentage for the ones higher than 5%, because 5% on my money in the US is 5% of my money in Jamaica, right? So for the US markets, is all cap gains for me, because you have capital gains tax. Well, I don't pay capital gains tax in the US, but so no. I am hoping RPL is not paying a dividend this year. I'll tell you that much. FESCO expansion, yeah. So somebody was asking earlier about FESCO, whether or not I think the price will go up soon. I'd say give it 12 months. I think FESCO will start to see some movement for sure. Yeah, so RPL is doing well. I mean, we're talking about dividends tonight, so I can't show them, but RPL is doing well. Which stocks do you invest in the US market? I'll cover that in another video. I have been kind of hesitant to share my US portfolio, but soon. Do you invest in stocks outside of the US using interactive brokers? Not yet, but I intend to. Do we pay cap gains tax using interactive brokers? Not that I have seen. I need to check my receipts. I don't think so though. Why is RPL stock price higher than FESCO's? I mean, what do you mean? I don't understand the question. I mean, the stock is the price that it's at because that's what investors are willing to pay for the stock. I don't know how to answer that question any other way. So yeah, that's Shells, that's what I thought. I thought it was rude to say it that way. So Father, that certainly wouldn't want to offend you. But that's what it comes down to, right? It's trading higher because investors are currently valuing it higher than FESCO. So But David, I think you'll know a little better than that. But Romario, on this same premise, right? So you think the larger the company, the higher the stock price should be? Those two aren't correlated. Those two aren't correlated. I mean, NCB is considered the largest bank. Is it the largest in terms of share price for financial stocks? No. You have, I can think of some other comparisons, but I'm not gonna do that. Duane, I'll answer this question in the challenge. I'll answer this question in the challenge. And I'm saying that to Duane because he's in the challenge. That's why I can say that to him. Fesco not paying people dividend too. We are here trying to make money, and we should move from companies that are not making us money. So our ability is one up. Okay. Fair enough, Shells. Shells has said it. All right, guys, it's 10:30. I gotta go. Yes, they are larger in revenues and profits, which means the company is doing better financially. Romario, okay. I'll leave it at that for you. If we're in the challenge, would have a very specific discussion, right? You have companies. I'll say this. No, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. Thoughts on Paramount Trading Limited? Didn't know of this company until last week. Shout out to Paramount. I'm happy to see them recover. I thought their stock was as in going down for not any solid fundamental reason. So that recovery, I was happy to see it. I should probably remind you, Graham, about the interview that he promised me. So I'll save my thoughts on Paramount for now, but I'll try to get that interview and then you can see. I mean, all stocks have a bit of market sentiment in the pricing. So yeah, I don't remember, but I think it went up 50 to 80%, I think, in the last week or so. Not sure where it's trading now. All right, so I'll put the link to the Portfolio Makeover Challenge in the description. Guys, I'd love to see you there. We have, it's gonna be a month from now, but usually I would say the persons usually start signing up once we start promoting it. So I'm not sure how long we'll be promoting it for, because we try not to have more than a certain number of persons in the challenges so that we can answer all the questions, etc. So just be sure to sign up if you're interested now. And just once you sign up, we can, get started on helping you work on your portfolio. All right, taking these final comments, and then I go, do they have stock market in the UK to invest in using Interactive Broker? Yes, correct. What are your thoughts on the preference shares that are on offer? Which preference shares are out now? I only know the dollar bond that's out now. I don't know any preference share that's out now. So if you know of any preference shares, let me know. All right, let me check on Instagram one more time. Instagram group silent tonight. Yes, JL, I'm live on YouTube. I always go live on all three platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. So, but when we finish, because of the platform we're using, when we end on IG, we have to discard the live. But when we end on YouTube, the video stays there. It also stays on LinkedIn. So, yeah. So Latoya Powell Clark, yes, we are on YouTube right now. Just head on over. The link is in our bio on IG. You can head straight over to YouTube. JMMB, the issue above. I'm not following you. So okay, so when you use the term on offer, that means that something is available now on the market to take up. Any JMMB preference share I know were already listed. I think they reclassified one of them earlier in this year. That's it, right? So I don't know of any on offer right now. All right, guys. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But the only thing I know on offer right now is the dollar bond. Not sure if any preference share out now. All right, guys, please do like the video. It helps the channel a lot. Like the video, share the video, and invite somebody who you think should learn investing to watch this video, to watch and subscribe to our channel. Please be safe. Please don't take any risks on the road tomorrow or the following day. I really do hope to see you in our next community meetup. We're having one this Friday. So in our community, we have a monthly call where we just talk about investing and just get to know each other. So this Friday, inside of the community on Kajabi, the link is in the description over on YouTube and on all our platforms as well. So hope to see you there, and again, be safe.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.